Welcome to 15K Plus Random Movie Reviews, where we take random movies from Metacritic's 15K Plus movies to randomly watch, whether we like it or not. Hello and welcome to episode 12 of 15K Plus Random Movie Reviews. This is Colin.
This is Niall.
And this is random movie 252 from Metacritic's all-time movie list. It was Saving Private Ryan, which we've both seen a number of times, so it was good to dip into it again and critically analyze it a bit more in depth than we may have done so in the past. It's from 1998. It's got a Metascore of 91 and a user score of 8.8, so it's way up there. It had a budget of 65 million, which was 65 to 70 million, which is quite low considering what was involved. And it returned a box office of 482.3 mil. Yeah. It has a runtime of 169 minutes. And obviously Mr. Spielberg is in charge of this one. And just in the run-up to this movie, he had Jurassic Park, he had Schindler's List, he had Jurassic Park 2, Lost World, he had Amistad, and then he had AI. So Saving Private Ryan was in between all of that, but that's a hell of a list of good movies he had in a run.
He's a bit of a hack, really, isn't he? He's no idea what he's doing.
No, yeah, he's a bit of a amateur. Interesting that the writer for this was Robert Rodat, who pretty much had done Fly Away Home, that whole geese adoption movie.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's the same type of movie, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was the one. And seriously, the producer Mark Gordon, he chased him down after watching Fly Away Home, and so he was like,
really?
Yes, I don't think they had like this war movie in mind, but he liked the cut of his jib, for want of a better phrase, and he said, let's do something. And so Robert Rodat was inspired by the D-Day book, which I used to have on my bookshelf when I had a bookshelf, a massive thick book by Stephen E. Ambrose, the same guy who wrote Band of Brothers, which is another amazing TV adaptation of a good story. But D-Day is an amazing book, basically, because Stephen E. Ambrose interviews people and constructs his books around first-hand accounts. And so Robert Rodat got inspired by that, and Stephen E. Ambrose actually took a part in sort of consulting in this movie, which I found interesting. And I heard a story. Read a story that Stephen E. Ambrose got a special sneak preview of the movie, and he had to tell them to stop during the D-Day part. And we'll get into that later on. But anyway, Robert Rodat actually wrote two other movies that we may have known. The Patriot, which I don't think is a bad movie, actually. Mel Gibson. Don't know if you've seen that one.
I would disagree. I kind of despise it. It's just a terrible movie. Weirdly, I kind of like Mel Gibson, even though he's kind of an obnoxious character. I think he's a good actor. I just didn't like the movie very much.
I need to watch it again. I don't think I hated it, but it's been a while since I watched it. And then he hasn't really written a lot more, but he wrote Thor: Dark World, and again, I don't like any of the Thor movies.
I've watched that. I've watched all the bloody MCU movies, and that was one of the weakest by a long way. Actually, it was shockingly bad. There was no humor to it. It was very dry. So again, it's not quite Saving Private Ryan. No, but when you delve deep into Saving Private Ryan, there's not a lot of memorable. I don't think the dialogue is as memorable as we thought it used to be. I don't think the dialogue is the important part of this, though. No, it's not, and it's the weakest part. It's by far the weakest part. It's the stuff that goes around, like the production, the cinematography is amazing. The feeling of being there, the feeling like you can feel the ground shaking as a tank comes up. That's just done so well. The dialogue's cack.
Spielberg invented he put a drill wheel onto the cameras to make them shake when when the bombs were exploding and stuff.
The cameraman burst his bubble and went, by the way, that was already invented years ago. You could have just bought it.
So Janusz Kaminski was the cinematographer. He's a bit of a Spielberg partner, and he said he got an Oscar for this, and he also got an Oscar for Schindler's List. The Oscars, they got 5 Oscars for this: director, cinematography, sound, editing, sound effects, and it was up for Best Movie, and Shakespeare in Love won.
Yeah, I think Tom Hanks was also up for Best Actor on this.
Yeah, didn't get it.
He got beaten out by, I can't remember now, it was such a inconsequential movie that an inconsequential actor that beat him. So yeah,
I can't remember. I was looking up the winners. It's interesting that Thin Red Line came out the same year as Saving Private Ryan, and two totally kind of different. And actually, Tom Sizemore was offered a role in Thin Red Line. I think Steven Soderbergh, director, and Spielberg said, "Listen, you want to go to Australia with Steven Soderbergh, or do you want to go to Ireland and the UK with Steven Spielberg?" And he chose the UK and Ireland.
I would have said Australia, but
I think he is swayed by the director. What else? It's based on a real tale, kinda, sorta. The Nyland brothers. Two brothers survived. They thought 2 brothers had died, but no, 2 brothers did die.
Yep.
They thought 3 brothers had died, and so they sent one of the guys home to be with his parents. One brother survived and was found in a Japanese prisoner of war camp in Burma. Interesting thing was that the name of the brother that survived initially was Fritz.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going after Fritz.
Yeah.
Second, I'm on the same team, lads.
Interesting. Very interesting, I thought. Anyway, let's delve into the plot here. General plot. So Captain Miller, played by Tom Hanks, lands with his team on D-Day and makes it through, luckily enough, and he hits the ground, and he's given a mission to find said Private Ryan, because they just found out that 3 of his brothers have died, and they basically get sent on a mission to find him, retrieve him, and that's the plot, the general plot outline in a nutshell. And what happens is a sort of a plot that is actually quite nicely bookmarked into 1 hour segments. If you think about the first hour as it's a 20-minute D-Day production, basically. There's no credit roll. It goes straight into a fluttering flag, and Private Ryan, as a granddad and great-granddad, goes and visits the cemetery, and we then flash into D-Day, and what happens
June
next?
6th, 1944, yeah.
There you go, yeah. 20 minutes of pure, visceral, loud, violent,
grim
D-Day.
and energetic. It's horrible.
Crazy.
You can see people on the beach in pieces. People who aren't in pieces are going to pieces, mentally. It's just like a carnal house. There's just limbs flying everywhere. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. Yeah,
and you can see that where the personal anecdotes come from, because these things weren't seen on a movie before. This sort of absolute carnage, limbs flying everywhere, blood in the water being blood, basically. Dead fish on the beach was one anecdote that a soldier told. I think maybe Stephen E. Ambrose when he's doing D-Day, or maybe they told Spielberg, I can't remember, but it's just one of those little things. And those the spiky things, you know what they're called on the beach?
They're hedgehogs, aren't they?
Czech hedgehogs. Yeah.
Czech hedgehogs, yeah.
Yeah, they're made in Czechoslovakia first, but they're just stark monsters just there. They're actually a place of solace, and they're also a place of just doom and destruction. But I don't know, so I was looking at it, and I love World War II, and I love the history of World War II. I don't obviously love the carnage that it brought, but I just when I was watching it, I put down Robert Capa, the photographer that took 11. Well, he didn't take 11 photographs on D-Day. He basically landed with the first soldiers that landed on the beach. He had a camera with him, and he shot tons of photographs. 11 survived because some idiot mishandled the film that went back to England. But the ones that did survive are basically inspired this the cinematography here, and the angles, the perspectives, the underwater, the overwater. You're kind of head level with all these soldiers. The bullets are whizzing through the air. You can feel the death on each one of them. The guts that you see, and the blood, and the desperation and the fear. And as people that live in 2023, it's just a slight little hint of what might have gone on in that day. I know when Saving Private Ryan was released, a lot more World War II veterans were still obviously around, and they actually released a dedicated telephone number for veterans that actually got shell-shocked or had flashbacks from watching the movie.
And quite a few people called it because it was quite a reasonably accurate depiction of that moment, that horrific moment where they're storming the beach.
Yeah. It's even just that, even when they're in the boats going in,
and they're puking up and they're
puking
freaking out. Yeah.
And you're introduced to Captain Miller there with Hanks, and that whole theme of his hand shaking throughout the movie. His hand is shaking.
It's such a lovely device, though. It shows that he's already got PTSD. He's already psychologically destroyed, but he's holding it together. And Tom plays it exceptionally well. He's completely together, but underneath that, he's kind of falling apart, which is just so well played.
Yeah, and you see Tom Sizemore's character, Sergeant Horvath, and you see Private Jackson, Barry Pepper, that's his name. Yeah,
he's great in this, actually. He's very
he's really good. He kisses his crucifix every time he's up to do something. So, 20 Minutes D-Day, it's when it was released in 1998, it's lost a bit of its shock horror value.
Yeah.
Because we've seen so much since then. We've seen real war with real violence on TV, on news every night, pretty much. Back then in 98...
We're going through one right now in the Ukraine, so we do have these scenes.
Yeah, we've got scenes from a drone, basically, and we've seen these things happen every day. So, but, if people weren't around in 1998, this coming out was a totally different paradigm, because I think a lot of war movies didn't get into the whole humanity of things, the whole sort of, I don't know, humanistic, I guess is one for a better word.
They were very they big upped war a bit. They made it look like a romantic thing,
like Rambo.
You go to war, you kill all the bad guys, you get loads of honor, you're going to be amazing, you're going to go home, and you'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a bit more. Nah, it's not like that, buddy. It's shocking.
Yeah,
you'll probably die.
Yeah. So after they get off that obviously there's so many things to you could basically have a full podcast on that whole entire 20-minute segment.
Yeah.
But they get up. The Bangalore.
The Bangalore, which was invented in
Bangalore.
Yeah, by a Scottish lad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Another imperialistic invention.
Bomb on a stick.
Yeah, that's when they're at that shingle bay. That whole Tom Hanks thing when he's grabbing the radio guy. He grabs him once, grabs him twice, grabs him the third time, and his face is gone basically.
Yeah, he picks up the radio and his bullet holes all over the radio.
Yeah, and he just throws it away.
He doesn't pass any remark to it. He's like, because he's been through a lot of crap already. So somebody missing the face is
Yeah,
he's obviously lucky for him.
Yeah, well, he basically is just it's him or me basically at that point. They get up and they get into the warren of what do you call them? The lookouts and the
trenches.
The trenches, and it's interesting. I didn't have any. There's no subtitles in Saving Private Ryan, and I don't know. I'm guessing that's the way it is, right? You didn't have subtitles in your version.
I had a German-speaking wife beside me translating pieces for me, and she pointed out two of the prisoners weren't speaking German.
They were not. They're from Czech. They were from Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, I had to look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, they were basically saying we haven't killed anybody. We're from the Czech, and
they were prisoners before they were prisoners of war. So they were just very unlucky dudes because they were basically conscripted from home and sent on the front line by the Nazis, which is lovely.
And would you hold it against the guys that have just seen half their friends wiped out, and then they pop up and see that they're just putting their hands up and going, "Oh well, you've battled all the way up here, so now we surrender." It's like,
if you'd just gone through that, you'd be weird if you didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
I don't think you couldn't. No, they did capture a lot of people as well, but this is just after they've got up and have just seen all their friends getting minced, effectively.
Yeah. And so, I hate to sort of push on from that, because that's probably one of the most historic scenes in movie history, but after all the craziness...
There's one piece we should... Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
The last scene is it pans away from the beach.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So, Mr. Ryan, or not Mr. Ryan, but Ryan.S is lying face down in the sand, the sea washing over him, and you can just see his backpack with Ryan.S written on the back. And I guess that leads into the next piece of the movie, the next chapter.
Yeah, it's still we're still in the first hour here. We're only like around a half an hour thing, so it goes back to America.
A lot happens in that first 20 minutes.
Yeah, so we kind of get that whole background story of D-Day has happened. We then go over to America, where Bryan Cranston is chilling out in his office.
Yeah, that surprised me. I didn't recognize him before the last time, but yeah,
there's a couple of actors in this that surprised me from being there. Anyway, so that's the part where they basically go, listen, there's three brothers. We need to get this dude back, and it's kind of boring, but it sets up the entire thing. So so Captain Miller is told this. I don't know how quickly the bloody fax machine was back then, but he got it pretty quickly.
It was an email, I think. It was an email.
Yeah, pigeon, transatlantic pigeon.
I got the impression though that they'd been stuck on the beach for a while. After they've managed to hold on to the beachhead for a few minutes, got their feet in the door. The Germans didn't let them get anywhere advanced, and they were waiting on I can't remember. Sorry, some military history, but they were waiting on tank support. Support them, but
D-Day was a bit very complex, and not a lot of things happened correctly. But hey, we're here to tell the tale.
There was a lot of stuff that had to happen, a lot of logistics, incredibly large operation.
Yeah, one thing that we must mention is the gathering of the translator, Corporal Upham, because he obviously plays a massive part.
They don't like him.
He plays a part in this. So they set out because they have this mission now. There's a couple of things that here, just before we lead up to the first hour thing, there's a couple of things that I liked. There was sort of a segue when gunfire was hitting, or gunfire sounds were happening, then they turned into raindrops, and then it turned into boot steps and puddles. I thought that was a very nice audio trick there that happened. They make it to a town, and your mate Vin Diesel, Carpazzo, Private Carpazzo.
I kind of liked him in this.
He's
playing a meathead,
Yeah, he's a gung ho guy. He tries to save a little girl in the thing, and his death is quite.
It's grim, actually. It's sad.
Grim. It's sad, but he hits a piano first and it makes a musical note, which was interesting. But this is Barry Pepper's great moment where he snipes. He goes up against the other sniper, but we see it from the sniper's perspective, and that was one thing. Spielberg was his first initial editing sort of thing or production decision was he was never going to show stuff from the Germans' point of view, but they kind of had to. So that was interesting to read that in my research. But seeing it from his point of view and looking through the grey darkness, and then just barely seeing Barry Pepper's outline.
Yeah, just before he gets a bullet in the right in the eye. But I think it was important to show it from the Germans' perspective as well, because it was kind of a contest of two skilled snipers. Basically what they were trying to portray, with showing it from the Germans' perspective as well.
He was just
Jackson, slightly too slow.
Yeah, and Private Jackson said it before that. He said, we're dealing with a good sniper here. Anyway, Vin Diesel dies, and then Ted Danson comes to the rescue.
I love that. I forgot he was in it as well. Because just before that happens, what's his name? Captain.
I didn't put his...
I wrote it down somewhere. I can't see it. Anyway, the guy from Sideways. He's chatting away, and he sits down and goes to take his boot off to get something out of it, like a stone or something, and he bumps into a log or a piece of wood, and it knocks into a wall. The whole wall falls down, and there's an entire troop of Nazi soldiers just sitting around having a cup of coffee, and everybody starts shouting at each other, and everybody's just freaking out. It's going to be a bloodbath, and everybody's going to die until Ted Danson shows up and kills all the Nazis from a weird perspective. Like he's up high. So I don't know how he got there, sneaky like, but he saves the day out of nowhere.
How the Germans didn't see him up there. Yeah, Paul Giamatti was the captain's name.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's another little sort of memorable scene. You kind of get to the end of the first hour, and you get to meet the first Ryan. And it's Nathan Fillion, your old friend from Firefly.
Yeah, I was so surprised. I was really surprised because he's 12 years old by the looks of him, you know.
He's very young.
But he's like, yeah, but are you sure? You sure it's not me? Because I can go home.
I want to go home.
Okay with that.
Yeah, and so they get the wrong Ryan basically. Cue comedic trumpet sound. Yeah. And I don't know. Ted Danson's pretty lame in this. He's there going. Yeah. After they get the wrong Ryan and they're going to head off again, he's like going, yeah. You know, I've got brothers at home myself. You know what, Captain Miller, bring him home. It's like, all right, come on, mate. It actually resurrected his career a little bit, Ted Danson, though, because they found out that he could do drama, not just cheers.
He can also serve beer and act, which is very impressive.
That horrible looking foamy beer and cheers. So anyway, we get to the first sort of area. We're in the second hour here, and this flies by. You don't even notice it going.
Sorry, I want to drag back for 30 seconds just to say there's one line with the Paul Giamatti scene that I absolutely loved. It was from the Germans shouting across on the tannoy. It was the Statue of Liberty is kaputt.
Yeah,
that's a brilliant insult.
Yeah, it was their propaganda, their attempt at propaganda.
Yeah.
We get into then this sort of church scene where we get a lot of character development and character backstories. It's sort of, we get into this personalization of the soldiers that was kind of new in war movies back in '98. So, you know, we get a character development of Hanks, we get a character development of Sizemore, and the other soldiers talking about their homes, and Giovanni Ribisi
mothers
talking about Mama, and that comes back.
It's very important later on, actually.
Yeah, he tells the story of him pretending to be asleep when his mom came home from work, and he sometimes he doesn't know why he pretended to be asleep. The weight of losing men weighs heavy on Hanks. He says that there are 94 men. He's
at that point,
yeah. But
and his hand starts shaking like crazy when he's recounting that number, and he tries to rationalize, the point of losing those 94, that maybe he's saving 100 or 10 men for each of those deaths.
Exactly.
So you can see that while he tries to play a hard ass in front of the lower ranks, he's having issues, especially with this mission.
Oh yeah. And so then Corporal Upham, the translator guy, asks him where he's from, and he knows there's a pool going because he's never told anybody where he's from.
Up to now, Upham.
Yeah, so then he doesn't obviously give away anything. So they move out of there pretty early. There's a nice segue of silhouettes with bombs dropping in the background. It's quite nice. So the next day they find somebody else, and they
it's the downed plane.
The dog tag search scene where all the soldiers are walking past and they're going, and Giovanni Ribisi
they're all chucking away, looking through the dog tags until the medic goes, lads, Jesus, stop.
Yeah,
in front of all the lads walking past, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, and so then they find a dude who's hard of hearing, and he knows where Ryan is. He says he's gone to Rummel.
I have to speak up. My ears have gone. It was a Nazi grenade.
Yeah, so he's like, get me a pencil and paper here. And so he sends him in the right direction towards Rummel, and he has shaky hand again, and you feel a bit of sympathy for him.
the whole team's looking at him, and he's got the map out, and the hands going crazy on the compass.
Yeah.
That's when the whole team actually realise, oh, Captain's having a bad time of this.
Yeah. And so they make their way, and then we have this very important section of the movie where they're at the radar installation, and I love that actually there's one line or when they're not, his team aren't up for it. They're like, going, let's just go.
I don't feel good about this, or is it?
No. And so he's asking them, and I just love the way Hanks asks, "Who's going left?" And I just love I love his intonation for that. It's just really realistic.
Yeah.
And so sadly, our medic dies at this point, and his last words.
This is a painful one. Like,
his last
I hadn't shared tears in any of the other movies we'd watched. Him dying in this scene, and even though I've seen it several times before, because of what he just said in the church, and because of what he says as he's bleeding out, and he knows he's dying because he's the medic. He knows his liver's pierced, and he knows that's it.
Yeah.
And he starts calling for his mother, and that's just that wrenching tears. Like I was sobbing, dirty snots coming out my nose. You know.
All right.
I know.
Yeah, and the blood is just coming out of all the holes, and it's really graphic as well. But yeah,
incredibly so, yeah.
Just it has a massive connection between his story about his mum and him calling out for his mum at the end.
I want to go home.
Yeah. So anyway, they obviously have this prisoner of war, and they say dig some bloody graves. And at the end of the day, like he's going, there's a couple of funny moments where he goes, Steamboat Willie, choo choo,
Hitler.
Yeah, and he's like, so Hanks lets him go, and obviously that comes around later on.
But there's a bit of an argument. They all want to kill.
There's a big argument. But, of course. But then that's the thing. Here's what happens that I didn't really dig this part of the plot. Obviously, so what's his name?
Upham.
No, not Upham. The guy that's played by Adam Goldberg, who plays Private Malice. He's heading off. He says, I'm done. I'm out of here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gone. And so Hanks takes this moment, Captain Miller takes this moment to tell them his backstory.
Yep.
And where he's from, what his job was. And I'm like going, listen, you just lost somebody. I don't know, I don't know the stresses of war or whatever, but it was, I don't know, it just felt a little bit out of place. Anyway, they get together.
I believe Hanks, it was a much longer speech, but Hanks went, nah, listen, that's not the character. He wouldn't speak this long about himself, and it's not in that scenario. And Spielberg listened, thankfully.
Well, at least he
shortened it down somewhat.
He shortened it down, and even then, it wasn't that. Anyway, they let that guy go. So we're at the end of the second hour here, because they head on in and they finally meet Ryan when they take out a little tank thing, and they meet Ryan at Rommel, and they this third hour basically is sort of a setup for the last 25 minutes, which kind of mirrors the D-Day start, because 25 minutes D-Day and then the 25 minutes battle at the end it sort of bookends the entire plot.
It's equally as kinetic as the D-Day storming the beach battle, because there's a wind up to the action. I should probably not go into the action just yet, but when that kicks off, it is very much like the D-Day landing. Because it's just full on.
Yeah, obviously, Captain Miller double checks and triple checks it's the right Hanks.
That's your favorite actor, Mr. Damon.
Well, so we can pick a few things here before the action starts. The two things I'll mention, and you can three things I'll mention, and then you can mention if they're the same things. One thing would be Damon's brother story. He ad-libbed it, and I just think it's very out of place, and it's very overacted, and it's very his teeth just annoy me for some reason. He's just so smiley in it. I know he's in shock, and he's trying to tell a story and Spielberg actually told him to go ahead with it, and then he was like, that's sort of a weird story, but that's exactly what that person would tell who's in grief. I just don't. The first time I watched Saving Private Ryan, I just thought it was a stupid acted out story, and I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, kind of the same. Like it sort of doesn't fit what's going on, and it adds little to the story.
Yeah. So that's one thing. The other thing is obviously Edith Piaf's record thing, and obviously Corporal Upham, the translators translating for them. But I found a couple of things out about Edith Piaf, which I thought was quite interesting, because she had the same condition that I just did this year. She had keratitis of her eye. She was blind for a couple of years in her childhood, and obviously, thankfully, I wasn't blind when I got keratitis. I just had antibiotics, and they were antivirals.
That comes later.
Yeah, exactly. She was questioned to being a traitor because she was in Paris when Germany invaded, and people were going, is she a traitor, is she not? Her last words were, every damn thing you do in this life you have to pay for.
Okay, that's
interesting. So she's famous for Je ne regrette. Jeez, my French, my secondary school French. Je ne regrette rien. Yeah. And which obviously Christopher Nolan massacred for Inception.
Yeah.
Didn't massacre, no, he did a very nice job of it. What else? That's Edith Piaf. When they're listening to that, obviously they hear the tanks in the distance, and there's actually quite a comedic needle scratch.
Yeah. Well, what I kind of noticed, what they were doing with the characters at this point, though, like the guy that they've all been ragging on, the
Corporal Upham,
the translator chap, like they all hate him up to this point. He's almost part of the team now. They're joking with him. He's translating Edith Piaf, and they're all. For once, he's actually feeling like part of the team, which is kind of nice. Kind of falls apart in a few minutes, but
yeah.
What I liked was just before the diesel sounds of the tanks are audible. Tom Hanks is standing there and his hands shaking, and then he hears the tanks coming just about, and his hand just goes deadly still. So straight away, the adrenaline kicks in. When all his PTSD is put to the side, and he's like, "Oh crap, here we go." Kick off.
Yeah.
And then there's a bit of A-team setup as well. We should probably mention. They're talking about sticky bombs. Get your socks out, bit of axle grease, slap in some TNT, and run up to a tank.
Yeah, if
that
you're
was
there.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah, they made some Molotovs. They made some sticky bombs. They, it was very tense. The sound, obviously, they got Oscars for the sound and the SFX.
Deservedly so.
Yeah. So, so there's a lot happens in that. It's amazing cinematography, amazing sounds of the guns. They use actually all the sounds you hear of the guns were authentic World War II weapons as well.
What I love is the sound of the M1 Garand.
Oh yeah,
where you empty the clip, it goes ping,
ping,
and it is an exact replica because as you said, it was from a
they use
weapon.
it all. Yeah, they use it all. So again, it goes all over the place, and a lot of things happen in that last 25 minutes. It's chaotic, it's violent. The guy that they let go comes back and has a very, very sort of graphic and intimate death scene with
personal moment.
With I think that was Private Mellish, that's Adam Goldberg's character. Yeah, it was up in the height thing, and sticks a knife in his chest, and then walks past Corporal Upham because he knew he was nice to him, and he walks past him, and at this point Corporal Upham goes to pieces, and it's very hard not to hate him at this point. He causes a lot of deaths basically.
I kind of felt sorry for him because he is a soldier, but he no experience, no training really. He's a translator. He's a nerd.
Yeah. He
was never going to be a good soldier. And he hadn't got the experience to handle a scenario like that. And that is a grim scenario. So while you kind of annoyed with him for doing it, you can understand his inability to act when it's just hell.
True. Yeah, so that happens, and obviously, spoiler alert for good movies, they retreat across the bridge, and
the Alamo.
It's the Alamo, it's the last stand, and they're getting hammered. Captain Miller takes a hit from our old friend Steamboat Willie, and
toot toot.
Hitler. And so he gets to the end, and he's shooting the tank with his pistol. I think at the end, Ryan is a is a bit of a coward, and I don't know why it happens.
He's crying. He's just sitting there crying. Yeah.
Yeah, he's cowering in fear, but he's been on these missions blowing up tanks, so we're led to believe. So I found that a little bit bitchy at the end.
Well, he's out of ammo at this point.
So is Hanks.
Well, yeah, he's sitting on a bridge looking at a tank coming straight at him, shooting with a pistol.
Yeah,
I did like the last round of his clip. The tank explodes.
Yeah, I remember watching the movie for the first time and wondering what the hell just happened. Did he
That's
get the
pretty good
ammunition?
Yeah.
But of course,
tank. Yeah,
the cavalry has come in, and the I don't know if they're Spitfires or they're American planes that come in.
P-51 tank busters.
Oh, well done. Thanks. That's good. Thank you. Well done.
There was a bit of exposition from Mr. Matt Damon talking to the captain. And he said, "Oh, it's the guys, engine long range, the P-51s."
Oh, really? Yeah. Anytime
that
Matt
exposition
Damon
kind of annoyed me because you wouldn't say that to the captain. The captain knows what the bloody are.
Yeah. Anyway, at the end, obviously Captain Miller dies and says, "Earn this."
Yep. Yeah.
And his hand stops shaking.
Which is dead.
Yeah. Yes, but
most things stop shaking when you're dead. But yes, it focuses on the hand to say he's
it focuses on his hand, and that's the end of his character arc and his shaky hand. So I'm guessing with better movies we're going to be a bit longer with our episodes. So apologies if people like our half-hour episodes because we're going long here. So here's the deal, and you're probably going to not like me for this, but for plot, I'm going 2 out of 5 because I think it's the weakest part of this movie. Don't worry, the other areas I'll be giving nice scores to, but I just think the plot is blah, and the dialogue is kind of blah. There's a couple of okay standout dialogue moments, but nah, 2 out of 5 for me.
I was a bit more generous, so you went for 3 out of 5.
Okay, that's fine. So obviously acting is a pretty strong element of this. There's a couple of things that we need to take note of here. Tom Sizemore was going through drug issues during this, and he obviously died this year in March. I didn't even pick up on that when it happened. Yeah. And Spielberg was basically saying, "Yeah, you better stay clean during this, or I'll just reshoot all the scenes."
He had to pee into a jar on every day to make sure that he was clean. And I think Spielberg said, "You fail one drugs test and you're off, and we'll reshoot the scenes. I don't care how many reshoots I have to do."
Yeah.
So he stayed clean.
He did. Harrison Ford and Mel Gibson were up for Tom Hanks's role before he got it.
I am delighted that neither of them got it. I do respect him as actors, but I think Tom Hanks was more of a relatable character.
Yeah,
than those guys would have been.
It's got the likable character. I think Ford probably would have given it a bit of a gruff exterior.
Yeah.
Edward Norton was offered Ryan, our friend from Birdman.
Again, it was too Ryan's part's so small. It doesn't make much sense to me that he would have done it.
Yeah, he's only in it for can't remember now, but I looked at a stat and Private Ryan is not really
5 minutes or something in total screen time or something crap.
I don't think so. I think it's more than that. I think it's like 39 or something. Yeah, I think it's up there past 30 minutes. But I can't remember. It's somewhere. Anyway,
it felt like he was just splashed up on the screen every now and then.
Yeah.
The longest piece he had was that stupid story.
Yeah. Anyway, Norton went on to do American History X, so he probably...
It was a good move from him.
Yeah, that's fine. Barry Pepper, obviously, we know him from The Green Mile. That's the one thing I remember him from. Not really.
Same as, actually, yeah. But in this, he's quite memorable.
Yeah, he's good. Jeremy Davis, who played Corporal Up and played it very well. He hasn't really done too much. He played a recurring character in Lost. That's what I remember him from the most.
Yeah.
Faraday.
God, I forgot that. Yeah.
He was part of the team in Twister as well.
Oh, that's a terrible movie.
Edward Burns, our friend from 27 Dresses, played Private Rebin or something, Rybin. So, yeah, you remember him as the boss, of course.
I do indeed. I hated him in 27 Dresses. He's better in this.
Yeah.
Substantially so, but you haven't really seen him in much other than those two.
Nah, he hasn't done much. Adam Goldberg was in Dazed and Confused, but nothing much else.
He was very good in this, actually, Adam Goldberg.
Yeah, he's fine. Giovanni Ribisi was good. He tends to play the same sort of character. He played the boyfriend in Lost in Translation. But yeah,
he was in Friends.
Oh yeah,
as Phoebe's brother.
Same sort of vocal performance.
And a bit of a
mumbly,
volatile character, I suppose, or an unusual character, quirky.
Yeah, I gave the acting 3.5 out of 5.
Well, as I'm always more generous, I'll give it 4.
That's fine. So, sound brackets track. Obviously, John Williams is the dude behind the horns and the strings through the movie. But, of course, no music was played during the action scenes, and it was pretty much sparsely used throughout and only during the sort of the emotional scenes. So, obviously, the sound, brackets track obviously deals with sound as well, and I think using the sound of the weapons and everything war related was amazing.
Actually, one piece of the sound that really struck me this time on this viewing anyway was Upham when he has the ammo around his neck.
Oh yes,
it gets really loud. The thinking of the ammunition just goes. It's turned up to 11. Everything else is put down a little bit, and I think it's the pressure that he feels carrying this ammo between the lads. It just, it's really pronounced. I love that piece. I absolutely love that.
That's very, I noticed that too, and I just, he sounded like Mr. T, kind of wandering around.
You ain't getting no ammo.
And that's sticky bombs too. It's A-team all around. Boom.
Yeah.
Full circle. That's totally, I didn't take note of that, but I really, I felt that sound as well. It was really cool. I give the sound brackets track 3.25 out of 5.
I have to be more generous. It's the law. 3.5 is what I wrote down here.
That's fine.
I would have given it more, but as you said, there wasn't all that much music. The sound itself, fantastic though, and really sets the scene.
Yeah. Like John Williams has obviously done a lot of good stuff, and I don't think this is his best one, but it's very militaristic sort of vibe to it, and that's fine. Like obviously production, our last topic, there's a lot. I've actually wrote more notes in this than I've written for the last 10 episodes. I'll just go through. Curracloe Beach in Wexford was used for D-Day. Amputees were drafted in to obviously make use of their lack of limbs.
The FCA, the Irish reserves, were running around getting shot at by Nazis and being Nazis as well, apparently.
True. 40,000 gallons of fake blood were used.
Ridiculous number, isn't it?
Yeah. 12 million of the 65 million budget was used on the D-Day scenes, basically. Which
I'm not surprised.
No. Every actor went for a 6-day boot camp apart from Matt Damon, so that sort of, they were like, hated him for it, so that added to their anger at him.
It's a beautiful move. It was a conscious decision by Mr. Spielberg to do that, so they always sent him a little.
Yeah.
They all didn't realise what boot camp was as well, and I think the actors went to vote to, we're not doing this anymore, we can't go on strike. This is crazy, we shouldn't be doing this with actors. But Tom Hanks vetoed the vote and scuppered their...
Well done, Tom.
Tom Hanks was enjoying the boot camp because he's a lunatic.
Well done, Tom. Spielberg turned down the saturation for the movie, and then certain channels or broadcast companies in America turned it up again because audiences were complaining when the TV was on. It's too dark.
TV's broken. One of your channels broke my TV.
So I think I think the saturation works. It's not as dark as A Night of Knowing Nothing or anything,
No, I think it was an interesting, piece of production, and it works in my opinion. No need to turn your saturation up.
No, not at all. Interestingly enough, it was only 59 days shoot, and 25 days were taken up by the D-Day scenes.
Crazy. I guess some of the scenes, they're working through fields. Like, as long as you've got the correct military hardware and right clothes, off you go.
Yeah. I didn't actually know, but obviously the D-Day scene reminds me of Medal of Honor, the video game, which is one of the best scenes in any video game you've ever played. I didn't actually know the creative team from Saving Private Ryan went on to be a part of that video game.
Get away, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I can get that because I obviously am a gaming nerd like yourself and played the same scene and died 1,000 times trying to get to the end of the beach.
Yeah. To mirror our Night of Knowing Nothing, it was blocked in India when it first was released.
Yeah. Too gory.
Too gory.
Some head honcho in the government watched it and went, no, it's grand.
It's fine. Yeah. Anything else for a production from you?
No. I think that about covers it. We could go on for a week.
Yeah.
Be honest.
We nearly are at a week. It's I gave it 4.5 out of 5. What did you give?
I only went with 4. Oh,
there you go. We've switched. I appreciate good production.
and this is good production. There's no question about that.
Yeah. As you can imagine, lots of good reviews. One of the top ones was from Time, Richard Schickel, a war film that, entirely aware of its genre's conventions, transcends them as it transcends the simplistic moralities that inform its predecessors to take the high, morally haunting ground. And the lowest one is Jonathan Rosenbaum from Reader. He gave 50 out of 100. Nothing that suggests an independent vision, unless you count seeing more limbs blown off than usual. I do count that, Jonathan.
Absolutely, it's more realistic.
Yeah.
It's D-Day. It was horrific. You've just been realistic on how you shot it. I don't see how that's a bad thing.
Yeah. So that's our longest episode yet, and we still have to pick our next episode's randomness. So you're good. You haven't left anything behind on the notes sheet.
I always do.
Yeah, same.
We
same.
can catch it on the summary.
The review. Yeah. Okay, so I've set up my app here to be random, and I will go ahead and choose the random movie now. And the movie is 4,617. So we're going up a bit, but it shouldn't be too bad. Should it?
That's a good number. I like it.
Let's see.
28 dresses.
Okay, 4617 is a 2016 movie called A Man Called Ove, O-V-E. Oh, I'm guessing it's the one that they did. Tom Hanks did the adaptation this year of A Man Called Otto. It's a Swedish movie. I'm guessing this is what they adapted it from. This will be cool to see, because I haven't seen A Man Called Otto.
Neither have I.
Here's just the rundown.
The Tom Hanks one is where he's a cranky old man.
Yeah, exactly. They called it A Man Called Otto because obviously A Man Called Ove wouldn't go well with international. Yeah. Just here's the synopsis. Stepping from the pages of Frederick Backman's international best-selling novel, Ove is the quintessential angry old man next door, so we should like it. An isolated retiree with strict principles and a short fuse who spends his days enforcing block association rules that only he cares about and visiting his wife's grave. Ove has given up on life.
I like this guy.
Yeah. So cue a boisterous young family coming in next door, and and stuff will happen. I'm guessing that will lighten our hearts. Looking forward to that, actually.
This is only our second non-English speaking movie.
Yeah, it was really difficult to find A Night of Knowing Nothing, and we got it in the end.
Yeah.
By creating a trial. Yeah, so I hope Man Called Ove is easier to find. Anyway, that's it for episode 12 of 15K Plus Random Movie Reviews. We'll see you on episode 13. Bye-bye.
Cheerio.